I'm happy to be with you again. Sometimes it feels like, with age, our strength leaves us all by itself, especially in the mornings. Have you noticed how hard it can be to get up, as if your batteries didn't recharge overnight, but instead drained even more? Especially after 70-75, this feeling can become an almost constant companion. And often, we just blame it on age, thinking, what can you do? Age takes its toll. But what if I told you that one of the main reasons for this morning weakness and energy drain throughout the day lies in a simple, almost unnoticeable habit that many of us acquire precisely at this age? I'm talking about skipping breakfast. Yes, that very meal which seemed like an unshakable rule in our youth suddenly takes a back seat. No appetite. I want to drink, not eat. Why the extra calories? Do these thoughts sound familiar? But our wise body, even with its slowed-down processes, desperately needs fuel after the overnight fast. Without it, it starts to work. You know, like an old car trying to start on the last drops of gas. It sputters, jerks, and is about to stall. Skipping breakfast, or replacing it with just a cup of coffee, is like sending your body on a day-long marathon without a drop of water or food. It's a direct path to fatigue, brain fog, and even a bad mood. But there's good news. Regaining your morning vitality and energy for the whole day is much easier than it seems. No complex diets or exhausting rituals are needed. Today, I will share with you simple, accessible secrets and stories of people just like you who manage to restart their engine in the mornings. I promise, after our conversations today, you will look at your mornings in a new way and feel a surge of energy. So, stay with me. It will be interesting and very useful. Betcha 1. From just coffee to a protein start. So, the most common morning scene. Woke up, stretched, and the hand automatically reaches for the coffee pot or kettle. An aromatic drink is wonderful. It awakens the mind. But for the body, it's almost meaningless, especially if nothing else enters the stomach. It's like turning on the light in a room, but not putting wood in the stove. It's bright, but not warm, and the energy will quickly run out. What should you do? Replace your solitary morning drink with one accompanied by protein. Even a small amount of protein in the morning works wonders. Let me tell you about Arthur. Arthur recently turned 78. All his life he was an active man, worked as an engineer, accustomed to a clear routine. But after retiring, and especially after 75, he began to notice that he woke up already tired. He had absolutely no desire to eat breakfast. Why force myself, he thought. I'll just have strong coffee, that's enough. He sincerely believed that coffee would give him the necessary boost, and initially it seemed so. For about 30 to 40 minutes, he felt energized. But then came a sharp crash. By 11 a.m., he felt completely worn out, became irritable, and any little thing got on his nerves. His wife, Mary, was worried, but Arthur brushed it off. It's old age, dear, just old age. He remembered how, in his youth, he could move mountains after a cup of coffee and didn't understand why things were different now. Internally, he felt discomfort, even some guilt for his apathy, but the thought of preparing breakfast seemed like an overwhelming task. One day, his daughter, a nurse, came to visit and noticed this habit. Gently, without lecturing, she explained to him that coffee is a stimulant. It sort of whips up the nervous system, but doesn't provide building material and energy. Protein in the morning, however, is like putting long-burning logs in the stove. They don't flare up instantly, but provide steady, stable warmth for a long time. She suggested he start small, add one hard-boiled egg to his coffee. Just boil a couple in the evening and eat one in the morning. Arthur was skeptical. An egg? What difference will it make? But for his daughter's sake, he decided to try. For the first couple of days, he didn't notice much difference. But after about a week, he caught himself thinking that by 11 a.m., he no longer felt wrung out. The irritability was gone. He even tackled fixing an old radio receiver in the garage with more enthusiasm. Gradually, he grew bolder. He started making himself a one-egg omelet or adding a spoonful of cottage cheese or Greek yogurt if he wanted something lighter to his morning tea. What happened from a physiological point of view? Protein digests slowly, providing a long-lasting feeling of fullness and a stable blood sugar level. This prevents those sharp spikes and drops in energy that coffee on an empty stomach caused. Furthermore, Protein is the main building material for our muscles, which tend to weaken with age. This is called sarcopenia. By supporting them in the morning, we support our overall vitality and metabolism. Psychologically, Arthur felt he was back on track, that he could influence how he felt. This restored his confidence. So, if your morning starts only with tea or coffee, try adding a simple source of protein: an egg, a handful of nuts, a spoonful of cottage cheese, or natural yogurt. It's a small step with a huge effect on your energy. Remember, your body is a house, and protein is the bricks for its strength. Start building your day on a solid foundation. 2. Morning sweet traps versus reliable grains. Many of us, even if we do eat breakfast, fall into another trap, the trap of simple carbohydrates. Remember how tempting sugary cereals or white toast with a thick layer of jam were in childhood? These habits often stay with us for life. It seems quick, tasty, and energizing. And yes, for a short time, it is. But simple carbs, sugar, white flour, are like a roller coaster for our body. A sharp rise in blood sugar, a burst of energy, and then an equally sharp drop, leaving us even more tired and hungry than before. Therefore, the second important step: replace fast, empty carbohydrates with slow, fiber-rich ones. Eleanor, a 76-year-old former music teacher, loved starting her day with something sweet. Her favorite breakfast was cornflakes with milk and sugar, or a couple of slices of white toast with orange marmalade. "It lifts my spirits so much," she'd say. She lived alone, and this sweet ritual seemed like her little morning joy. But by lunchtime, she often felt completely drained, felt drowsy, and found herself reaching for cookies or candy to recharge. She noticed she was gaining weight, although she didn't seem to eat much. Her digestion also worsened, and constipation appeared. Eleanor blamed age and a slowed metabolism. She felt a little ashamed of her sweet tooth, but justified it by saying, "At my age, you can afford little indulgences." During a routine doctor's visit, she complained about constant fatigue and bowel problems. The doctor, listening carefully to her description of her diet, suggested that the root of the problem might be her sweet breakfasts. He compared her cereal and white bread to a quick fire from dry grass. It flares up brightly, but burns out instantly, leaving only ashes. Whole grains, rich in fiber, are like solid logs that burn slowly and evenly, providing stable warmth. He advised her to try replacing the cereal with oatmeal, not instant, and the white bread with whole grain bread. And be sure to add some berries or fruit to the oatmeal for sweetness and vitamins, and a handful of nuts or seeds for healthy fats and extra fiber. Eleanor initially reacted unenthusiastically. Oatmeal seemed boring and bland to her. "That's porridge for sick people," she thought. The first few days she cooked it with water, plain, and breakfast really didn't bring her joy. But then she remembered the doctor's advice about additions. She bought frozen berries, some walnuts, and flax seeds. She added all this to the oatmeal with a little honey instead of sugar, and the taste was transformed. Breakfast became satisfying, aromatic, and even beautiful. Most importantly, she noticed changes. The feeling of fullness lasted almost until lunch. The midday drowsiness disappeared, and miraculously, her digestion improved. She felt a lightness she hadn't experienced in a long time. Why did this work? Slow carbohydrates from whole grains and fiber from grains, berries, nuts, seeds are digested slowly, gradually releasing glucose into the blood. This ensures a stable energy level without sharp spikes and drops. Fiber, like a caring gardener, tends to our intestines, improves their function, helps eliminate waste, and feeds beneficial bacteria. Psychologically, Eleanor felt proud of herself for being able to change a habit and achieve such a tangible result. She realized that self-care could be tasty and pleasant. So take a closer look at your usual breakfast. If it contains a lot of sugar and white flour, try replacing them with whole grains, oatmeal, buckwheat, whole grain bread. Add fruits, berries, nuts. Your body will thank you with stable energy and good digestion. This isn't a diet. It's simply choosing the long, smooth road instead of a roller coaster. 3. No appetite? Start small. And what if you have absolutely no appetite in the morning? A familiar situation, right? With age, the sensitivity of taste buds may decrease, the production of digestive juices may lessen, and simply the habit of not eating in the morning can become ingrained. It seems, Why force yourself? Better to wait until hunger awakens on its own. But the problem is that waiting can drag on, and the body still won't get the necessary start. Skipping breakfast due to lack of appetite is a vicious cycle. No food, no energy, no strength or desire to do anything, including eating. There is a way out. Start with microportions, but make them maximally nutritious. Body. His son, concerned about his father's condition, came and spent a few days with him. He noticed that his father indeed ate almost nothing in the morning, so he proposed an experiment, not a full breakfast, but just an energy minimum. He said, "Dad, let's not cook porridge or an omelet. Just eat half a banana and 3 walnuts. It will take 1 minute." David initially refused, but the portion was so small it was silly to argue. He ate it. The next day, his son offered him a small cup of natural yogurt, literally 100 grams. Then, a small piece of whole grain toast with a thin layer of avocado. The son explained that even such a tiny amount of food in the morning starts the metabolism, like an ignition key in a car. It signals the body. The day has begun. Time to work. David continued this micro-breakfast even after his son left. He was surprised, but after a couple of weeks, he noticed that by lunchtime, he was starting to feel hungry. The very appetite he thought was gone forever, and the morning weakness lessened. He was even able to walk in his favorite park again. Gradually, his morning portions became slightly larger. He could eat a whole banana or a small sandwich. The weight loss stopped. Why is this important? Even a small portion of food in the morning stimulates the production of digestive enzymes and awakens the metabolism. The body receives a signal that the fast is over. The banana provided quick carbohydrates and potassium, the nuts, protein and healthy fats, the yogurt, protein and probiotics. These were concentrated nutrients in a small volume. Psychologically, David felt relief and hope. He realized that appetite can be invited, like a shy guest, by offering something light and pleasant, rather than demanding they immediately sit down for a banquet. If you have no appetite in the morning, don't force yourself to eat a lot. Start with something very small, half a piece of fruit, a handful of berries, a few nuts, a spoonful of yogurt, a small piece of cheese. The main thing is to give the body some signal that it's time to wake up and get energy. Remember, even a stream starts with a drop. Your appetite and strength can return if you take the first, albeit tiny, step towards them. 4. Morning rush, breakfast for later. What breakfast? I just need time to get ready. Another common reason for skipping the morning meal. Perhaps you help your children with grandchildren in the mornings, or you have an early doctor's appointment, or simply many tasks have piled up. It seems that 15 to 20 minutes for breakfast is an unaffordable luxury. It's easier to grab something on the go or postpone eating until lunch altogether. But this rush and time saving in the morning turns into a loss of energy and productivity during the day. The solution is simple and elegant. Prepare breakfast the night before. Margaret, 77, was a very energetic woman, but her mornings were always chaotic. Sometimes her daughter asked her to watch her grandson before kindergarten. Sometimes she needed to go to the clinic across town, or simply household chores piled up. Breakfast often became a casualty in this schedule. She might drink coffee, eat a cookie on the way, or eat nothing at all until lunch. By noon, she felt tired and irritable, often snapping at loved ones. "I don't have enough time. I'm completely overwhelmed," she complained to her friend. She knew skipping breakfast wasn't good, but the thought of also preparing something during the morning rush caused internal resistance. "It's too complicated," she thought. Her friend, after listening, shared her secret. "I prepare breakfast the night before. It takes 5 minutes, and in the morning, no hassle." She told Margaret about overnight oats. In the evening, just pour milk or yogurt over oatmeal, add berries or chia seeds, put it in the fridge, and in the morning, a ready, tasty, and healthy breakfast awaits you. Or even simpler, hard boil a couple of eggs in the evening. In the morning, all you have to do is peel them. Margaret was initially skeptical, dealing with this in the evening too. But the prospect of a calm morning without rush and hunger seemed tempting. She decided to try the hard-boiled eggs. It was the easiest. She boiled 3 in the evening. In the morning, while getting ready for the doctor, she quickly peeled and ate 1 egg with a slice of whole grain bread. And you know what? She felt much calmer. There wasn't that anxious feeling of hunger that usually accompanied her on the road. She was more focused during the doctor's appointment. Encouraged by her success, she tried making overnight oats. She mixed rolled oats, not instant, in a jar, poured kefir over them, added frozen blueberries and a spoonful of honey. In the morning, she took it out. It looked appetizing, and it tasted wonderful. It became her lifesaver on days when she had to get up early or when the grandchildren came over. She noticed she became much calmer in the mornings, her energy lasted longer, and she stopped snacking on unhealthy things. Physiologically, by eating a pre-prepared, balanced breakfast, Margaret ensured a stable blood sugar and energy level from the morning onwards, which helped her cope with stress and workload. Psychologically, preparing breakfast the night before became an act of self-care for her, an investment of time in her future well-being. It gave her a sense of control over her morning and her condition. She realized that no time is often a matter of priorities and organization. If your morning is a constant race against time, try dedicating 5 to 10 minutes in the evening to prepare breakfast. Boil eggs, make overnight oats, chop fruit for yogurt, assemble a container with nuts and dried fruit. Invest a little time in the evening to get a big dividend in the form of energy and calm in the morning. Your breakfast will be waiting for you, instead of you frantically wondering what to eat. 5. Loneliness at the table? Turn breakfast into a ritual. Another reason breakfast might lose its appeal, especially if you live alone, is the feeling of loneliness. Cooking for oneself, sitting at the table in silence. Sometimes it's easier to drink tea in front of the TV or not sit down at the table at all. Food loses its social and emotional component, turning into just a necessity that is easy to ignore. But breakfast is not only fuel for the body, it's also the start of the day, a moment that can set the mood. The solution: make breakfast your personal, pleasant ritual, even if you are alone. George, an 82-year-old widower, took his wife's passing very hard. Their breakfast together had always been a special time. They discussed plans for the day, read the newspaper, just talked. After her death, the kitchen felt empty. The thought of preparing breakfast just for himself and eating it alone seemed unbearable to George. He started skipping breakfasts, sometimes lunches. He drank coffee, looked out the window. His mood was depressed, apathy grew, his strength waned. He felt lost and unneeded. Food stopped bringing him any pleasure. His neighbor, Emily, noticed that George had really gone downhill. She started occasionally dropping by in the mornings under the pretext of asking for salt or sugar, and saw his uncleared table and sad eyes. One day she brought him a warm bun from the bakery and suggested they have coffee together in his kitchen. George was embarrassed at first, but agreed. Over simple conversation, he ate the bun, almost without noticing. Emily started visiting more often. Sometimes they had breakfast together, sometimes just chatted for a few minutes. George noticed that on the days Emily visited, his mood was better. Then Emily suggested an idea. "George, why don't you make the morning special for yourself, even if you're alone?" She advised him to get out the nice tablecloth they bought on a trip, put a small vase with a flower on the table, even an artificial one, turn on his favorite music or a radio show. "Imagine you're in a cozy cafe where you are the most important guest," she said. George initially brushed it off, thinking, what nonsense. But Emily's words stuck with him. One morning, he decided to try. He spread the tablecloth, put on an old Frank Sinatra record, cooked himself oatmeal, like Eleanor from the previous story taught him, and sat by the window. And a little miracle happened. The food seemed tastier. The music created an atmosphere. Sunlight fell on the tablecloth. George suddenly felt, not joy, no, but a certain calm and coziness. He realized he could create his own mood. He started doing this every morning. Sometimes during breakfast, he would call his son or an old friend. Breakfast stopped being just food. It became his personal time, his little island of stability and self-care in the vast ocean of the day. His appetite returned, and his strength also began to gradually come back. Breakfast is not just a physiological act. It's the start of the day, an opportunity to tune into positivity. Creating a pleasant atmosphere, using nice dishes, a tablecloth, playing music, eating by the window, or with a book, helps shift the focus from loneliness to self-care. It's like telling your brain, this moment is important. You are important. This improves mood, which, in turn, can stimulate appetite and the desire to live actively. If you eat breakfast alone, try turning this time into a pleasant ritual. Decorate your table, play music, find something that brings you a little joy. Breakfast can become not a reminder of loneliness, but your personal time of strength and harmony. Remember, self-care starts with small things, and the morning ritual is one of them. 6. Lived like this all my life. Acknowledge your body's new needs. And finally, there's a category of people who sincerely believe, I've skipped breakfast my whole life, and look, I've made it to my age just fine. Why change anything? Perhaps you think this way too. And indeed, in our youth, our body forgives us a lot. It has a larger margin of safety, metabolism works faster, recovery is easier. But with age, whether we like it or not, our internal processes change. What worked at 30 or 50 may no longer be as effective at 75 or 80. Ignoring these changes means denying yourself the chance to feel better. Therefore, the 6th piece of advice, listen to your body and acknowledge that its needs may have changed. Helen, 79, always prided herself on her simplicity. I'm not one of those who fuss over food, she'd say. She considered breakfast a waste of time, a cup of tea, and off she went, to work in the garden or do chores. She felt quite energetic and didn't connect her ever-increasing daytime fatigue and the new aching joint pain with skipping breakfast. It's just old age creeping up, she sighed. When her daughter or doctor hinted that regular meals starting in the morning might help her, she was almost offended. What are you telling me? I know myself best. She sincerely believed her body was used to this routine over many years, but the fatigue accumulated. After lunch, she was irresistibly drawn to sleep, and gardening, which she loved so much, became increasingly difficult. One day, after a particularly severe bout of weakness, she finally decided to follow the doctor's advice, at least for a week. Without much enthusiasm, more out of a sense of obligation. She chose the simplest option, whole grain toast with avocado and a cup of tea. She didn't expect any miracles. The first few days she ate this toast almost mechanically, not feeling any difference. But by the end of the week, she suddenly realized that she hadn't fallen asleep after lunch. And in the evening, she had enough energy not just to watch TV, but also to read a book. It was so unusual that she didn't believe it at first. She continued her experiment. She began to notice that the morning stiffness in her joints lessened slightly, and her energy lasted for longer walks. She didn't become 20 years younger, of course, but her quality of life noticeably improved. She acknowledged with surprise that the doctor had been right. Her body, like an old but beloved car, required more attentive care and the right fuel, even if it used to run on fumes. Why does this happen? With age, the body's ability to efficiently use energy reserves decreases. Metabolism slows down. Nutrient absorption may worsen. Muscles lose mass faster if they don't receive regular fuel, especially protein. Therefore, regular meals, starting with breakfast, become not just desirable, but critically important for maintaining energy, muscle mass, stable blood sugar levels, and overall vitality. Psychologically, it wasn't easy for Helen to admit that her previous beliefs weren't quite right at her current age, but the result, improved well-being, became the best argument. It gave her a new understanding of her body and the motivation to care for it differently. If you also think you've always lived like this, try looking at it from a different angle. Your body today is not the same body it was 30 years ago. It is wiser, it has traveled a long path, and perhaps now it needs slightly different support. Try introducing a balanced breakfast for at least a couple of weeks, just as an experiment. Listen to how you feel. You might be pleasantly surprised. Respecting your age doesn't mean resigning yourself to declining energy. It means adapting your habits to the new needs of your wise body. Well, my dear friends, today we've talked about something seemingly simple, like breakfast. But as you can see, this morning meal can be a real key to your energy, well-being, and good spirits, especially when you have a long life journey behind you. We've looked at different situations, from a simple don't want to or no time to feeling lonely at the morning table. And for each, we found a simple, accessible solution. The stories of Arthur, Eleanor, David, Margaret, George, and Helen show us that changing habits and feeling better is possible at any age. I know you possess immense wisdom and life experience. You've seen a lot, overcome various difficulties, and you absolutely deserve to feel good, energetic, and joyful every day. Please, don't just blame fatigue solely on age. Often, small conscious changes in our daily routine, such as returning to a healthy breakfast, can work real wonders. It doesn't require heroic efforts. It only requires a little attention and love for yourself. Remember, your health and well-being are in your hands. Even the smallest step towards self-care has enormous significance. Believe in your strength, listen to your body, and know this: you deserve to be full of energy and enjoy life at any age. Start tomorrow with a good, healthy morning.